To the Community Action Partnerships, Learning Communities, Resource Center Kickoff webinar. We're pleased, we're very excited and happy to have you all join us on this afternoon. I think it's afternoon for most of us, but this Kickoff webinar in which we are talking specifically about opportunities that exist within our learning community. As we get started today, first I would like to defer to my colleague who has joined me, Natalie Kramer, who is going to provide us with a few quick instructions related to today's webinar. Natalie?
Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Just a few technical announcements. We are in webinar mode, meaning you are in listen-only mode, so you should be able to hear us out of your computer speakers, but we will not be able to hear you. So if you do have any questions or comments throughout the webinar, which we do welcome, you can send your questions through the Q&A window. At the top right of your screen, there should be a Q&A box, and you can type your questions in there. If you have any technical issues throughout the webinar, you can find me in the chat window just by selecting my name. You can send me a message that way. If you lose audio at any time during the webinar, you can go up to the Communicate tab on the top part of your screen and hit Audio Broadcast, and that will restart your audio feed. If you get disconnected from the webinar altogether, you can email me at nkramer, N-K-R-A-M-E-R, @communityactionpartnership.com, and I can help you get logged back in. Thanks. Oh, this webinar will be recorded.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And the other important thing that I would like to do is, one, to give acknowledgement to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Community Services, Administration for Children and Family. They are the funder for the Learning Communities Resource Center, and without them we would not be able to do this very important work. Also want to bring you greetings from the CEO of the Community Action Partnership, Denise Harlow, and her board. They thank you for your participation in today's event and, more importantly, your potential participation in the learning community. Today, joining me here in the Learning Lab here at the partnership are my colleagues. I have with me that you cannot see Dr. Jarl Crocker, who is the Director of Training and Technical Assistance for the partnership. In addition to Jarl, who's joining me today, is Sanji Johnson, Natalie Kramer, and Cashin Yu. We all make up the Training and Technical Assistance team here at the partnership and all work together to meet the capacity needs of the Community Action Network. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into our action-packed agenda for today. I've already offered welcome and introductions, and very quickly want to move to offering an overview. We'll also have a chance to meet our subject matter experts for the learning community. You'll learn more about how to apply to participate in the learning community, and then you will have an opportunity to hear from one of your peers about her own experience as a member of the learning community in the past, and hopefully time will be good and kind to us and give us some time for questions and answers at the conclusion of today's webinar. So, as we move forward, here's a question. Why are we here? Why the learning community? As the members of the CSVG network, we have been charged with a very important work, and at the center of that work is our commitment to change people's lives, to embody the spirit of hope, to improve communities, and ultimately to make America a better place to live. At the same time, we're keenly aware that the conditions and causes of poverty seek to cut away at this reality for many of the families and communities that we serve. And so it is an important, and I would venture to say quite radical thing that our funders have done, as they have provided us with the resources to actually meet the direct needs of our families and communities. They've also invested in our need to build our capacity. So we've engaged in lots and lots of conversation about the internal needs of our agencies and our organizations, and talked a lot about standards and performance measures. But our funders have also, by making this investment, said to us that it is quite important that we deal with the heart of who we are and the heart of why we do what we do on a daily basis, and that is to engage in anti-poverty efforts related to the families and communities that we serve on a daily basis. And so, in essence, their investment in the learning community gives us an opportunity as colleagues, as peers, to think about those strategies, to work together as incubators or think tanks, as it were, related to promising practices or those evidence-informed approaches that really cut at the heart of alleviating poverty for America's communities. And so that's why we're here. We are the anti-poverty people, and we have to build our capacity as it relates to poverty so that we can ultimately improve outcomes for those families and communities that we serve on a daily basis. And so here's the question. Would you like to improve your program outcomes? Do you have an idea that you would like to transform into action? Or do you want to utilize data to perform better? Would you like a group of community action peers to brainstorm with regarding ideas or to share experiences? If you answer yes to any one of those questions, then the learning community is for you. So how does the learning community work? In short, members of the learning community are divided into specific focus areas. So we have different learning community groups, or we call them LCGs, and in those groups, peers attend regular meetings. Those meetings are often virtual, but sometimes they are also in person, and peers strategize ways to improve outcomes within their actual agency. And at the end of the day, what is happening within those groups are participants are discussing what works. They're sharing data findings, solving problems, offering support to one another as new ideas are being implemented, and sharing best practices. And so the learning community has a very interesting structure, and that structure is comprised of learning community groups, and those groups relate to various poverty-related topics. And within those groups, let's say, for example, while the focus area or that topic might be financial empowerment, within the groups, agencies may identify some unique or specific goals that they want to work towards to enhance their efforts related to that particular approach or that particular program. Within the learning community group itself, each LCG will be offered with training and technical assistance and guidance from peers, because this is a peer-to-peer structure that we have created. But you will also have the opportunity to receive TA from subject matter experts who will help facilitate this process. And this is an open learning environment. I use that word incubator or think tank. This is the space where you as agencies would have an opportunity to present your needs, your issues, problems, and work towards that goal, and basically support one another in the achievement of designated goals. So the learning community groups are definitely focused on data tracking. We've talked about improving outcomes, and I'll say a little bit more about this later, but a key component of that data tracking has to do with helping you to develop meaningful plans that come out of what you've identified to be needs that your agency has to enhance itself as it relates to a particular approach, like place-based strategies. And once you identify what your goal is as it relates to your plan, we will work with you to help you develop a work plan, a proper work plan, as it were, and over time, you will have an opportunity to test out your strategies related to that work plan and to report on those, and collectively we will evaluate what those outcomes were. And the other thing that I will stress as it relates to this is this process is very much rooted and grounded in results-oriented management and accountability, or ROMA principles, which many of us within the CSBG network are quite familiar with. And we will have the benefit of Dr. Barbara Mooney, who will work closely with us as a resource expert throughout the project to support us in successfully living into these principles. So, what are the learning community groups, or what learning community groups are currently available? We have several, and the ones that we would like to highlight for everyone today are as follows. We are pleased to offer the opportunity for application to our place-based strategies for community revitalization, LCG, our National Poverty Trends, LCG, which is an open learning community group, and I'll say more about our open groups in a moment. Decreasing family homelessness, which is also open, bundling services to improve outcomes, trauma-informed approaches, and financial empowerment for families. And so all of these are the groups that are currently available for members of the network to sign up for. The Rural Impact, or the Rural Child Poverty Group, has already been established, and that group is, and that initiative is off and running, but we will receive updates throughout the time of our project regarding their findings and what their outcomes are. Also, as it relates to our open groups, which are National Poverty Trends and Decreasing Family Homelessness, you do not have to complete a full application to participate in those groups. Those groups will be available to our network on demand, as it were. You'll have an opportunity to follow those particular groups and access the resources and the discussion groups associated with those. But those two that are termed to be open do not require an application, and you don't have to be accepted into the actual group, but the other ones do require a full application, and you would have to be accepted into those specific groups. And so let's hear a little bit more about the learning community groups, and I think the best way that we can talk about that is to give you all an opportunity to meet the subject matter experts for the learning community groups. And I'm smiling really, really big right now because I cannot tell you how excited we are to be in partnership with these individuals who just bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to uplift our efforts to build our capacity related to our poverty outcomes. And so without further ado, I'm going to call on each one of them, and they are going to quickly introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their group and why you should apply for their group today. And so with that said, I'm going to start with my colleague from CFED, Corey Hattemer.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. So I guess I'd just say that, we all know that financial issues affect many other aspects of families' lives. So we at CFPD have worked with community-based organizations around the country to figure out the best ways to incorporate tailored financial empowerment services into their existing programs to help participants achieve improved financial outcomes and program outcomes. And so in this role, we'll help members of the learning community develop strategies for leveraging local resources to provide programs and strategies that will financially empower the families you serve.
Thank you very much, Corey. Next, I'd like to call on my colleague, Dana Jackson.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As Tiffany said, I'm Dana Jackson, and I have the pleasure of working with the place-based group, and in this group, we will be looking at place-based strategies for making change. We will be focusing on how to leverage and collaborate with other organizations or people in a particular area that are working on very similar outcomes. A large part of what we'll talk about will be community engagement, how to get a groundswell of people, both inside of formal organizations and informal folks who are affected by particular areas, to help build the capacity to, make change in place. And we'll do a lot of learning from each other and sharing with each other. So more is more developed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would next like to call on my colleague, Dr. Sharon Macdonald.
Thanks, Tiffany. So we are, I'm with the National Alliance to End Homelessness, and we're really thrilled to be working with the Community Action Partnership and hope to work with lots of folks in local CAP agencies. This group is going to be open. We want to work with as many folks as possible, and we'd like to provide some tailored content and learnings and learn from one another from community action programs that are working on leadership roles in responding to homelessness at the local level, or groups that are interested in becoming greater leaders in their own efforts, and including around coordinated entry, working in partnership with homeless service systems, and implementing rapid rehousing models in diverse communities, including rural communities, high-cost communities, and places with very low vacancy rates in housing. So we're thrilled to be a part of this effort.
Thank you very much. Now let's hear from my colleague, Elena Cohen.
Hello, this is Elena Cohen, and I don't know if I'm the only new one, but I am really a new person on this great group, and the learning community that we are trying to form, and I'm encouraging you to work with, is on trauma and the impact of trauma on families living in poverty. You know, because you work with these families, that they encounter a tremendous amount of hardships with depleted resources, high stress, and exposure to multiple types of trauma. Trauma meaning events that are circumstances that are perceived as threatening to their physical, emotional well-being. We know by research that trauma impacts children, families, and communities. And the goal of this the goal of this learning community, which will start with a webinar on December 2nd, and I encourage you to learn more about it on December 2nd, the goal is really to work with all of you, to really design plans for making your organization trauma-focused and trauma-informed. And a very important part of it is becoming trauma-informed for the staff. The staff that's serving in all of your programs is also impacted by many issues related to trauma, and that, of course, affects their services and also the outcomes that you are going to get as programs. So I'm encouraging you to join this group, which will look at ways to reframe your organization to go beyond what you're already doing. You're already doing a lot of psychosocial, you're already doing a lot of assessment, you're already doing a lot of work referring families for services when needed. But now we will integrate the issue of trauma and trauma impacts on these services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena. And I want to stress that this is a new learning community group for us, and so we are very excited for this to be added to our menu of options as we address the needs for families and communities. And next, I'd like to call on my colleagues from the Bundling Services to Improve Outcomes, LCG, that is Mary Virtue, Dwayne Yoder, and Paige Teagarden. And we'll start with Mary, if Mary would lead off, please.
Sure, happy to. So the Bundled Services is a means to reach your customers effectively and efficiently, and you and your peers have learned a lot of lessons about how to plan and implement bundling services. So this learning cluster group is giving you an opportunity to get ideas from your peers and share your experience, because both of those are effective means to learn. You may find that a small idea from a colleague saves you a lot of time in planning, or their experience gives you the confidence to keep at it. Or you may find that the questions you're asked help you sharpen your own approach. So we look forward to having you join us and sharing what you're learning and learning from your peers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Paige and Dwayne.
So, Paige, am I on?
You're on, Dwayne.
Okay.
You're on.
Just wanted to make sure you were hearing me. Well, I mean, Mary really summed it up very nicely, but, you know, what I would add is that, you know, one of the things that I hope that we are able to do as we learn together is to share ideas and means around the kinds of tools that are necessary to do bundling, the kinds of organizational change and structures that help with bundling of services, kinds of information and data systems that act as tools, and then just some really practical ways that different groups from around the country have developed ideas and tools that can be used to implement this stuff on a ground level. I just went through a number of years of similar experiences with the two-generation work that we're doing with the Casey Foundation, and it's a great model. I think that we can learn from each other, and we can do it in a way that's very practical and can actually be implemented.
And I would just so Dwayne he may not have to introduce himself, but he's from Garrett County Community Action, the CEO and president, and I'm the vice president for strategic initiatives. And over the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, we've really focused a lot on integrating services and integrating across the agency. And those learning communities that Dwayne mentioned with the Casey Foundation were so pivotal to us being able to break through at places where we just, you know, it's like we kind of pull our hair out. So our hope is that we can act as a resource, but also just act as a place for others to be able to come together and provide advice to one another about what's really hard. It's really hard to bring our services, de-silo our programs in an effort to actually make a real long-term difference for the families that we're serving. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. So next, let's hear from Jim Masters and Alan Stansbury.
I'm a senior associate with the Center for Community Futures out of Berkeley, California. And I think what we'll be doing is an extension of the webinars that we did last year. We had 8 different seminars and a number of presentations, both at the annual conferences, Chicago and Washington, D.C., as well as in San Francisco. And we had a number of different topics dealing with those kinds of things that impact poverty at the local level. And I think what are going to be doing is that we're going to connect these trends with the national assessment processes as well as your local assessment process, so that you know how to connect all of those different aspects into your work plan in the coming years. I think that's what you all want to hear, and we hope that you can join us.
Thank you very much. And we think that Jim may be experiencing a problem with his sound, so we appreciate you, Alan, for speaking on behalf of Jim and yourself related to the Trends in Poverty LCG. And I'm not sure if these two individuals have access to sound, but I must pause to give mention to these two very important colleagues to the Learning Community Group. They are Catherine Marshall and Barbara Mooney, and really want to just highlight or raise for you all their importance as resources within the learning community as we have put the pieces together to build this for the network, but they will also be listening with us to listen for those trends and patterns and possibilities for discussion and things to build on as we progress through this project. And if Barbara is available to speak, I don't know if you would like to just say a quick word, you or Catherine, you're welcome to.
Yes, hi, it's Barbara. Am I coming through?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, yeah. Okay, I can see the little green marks now. I think that I'm very excited about this new year of the Learning Community Project. I think everyone will find it to be very organized and thoughtful, and I'm hoping that because of this new structure, we'll be able to document new outcomes that are being achieved because of the community, and we'll be able to share what we're learning through our network. So thanks very much for allowing me to be part of this project.
Thank you very much. Catherine.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. I was using a different microphone. So I just really wanted to just encourage everyone to participate in at least one learning community. We find not only as your skill building and your projects that you're going to be reaching your goals, but you're going to be building a wonderful group of colleagues who will support your success, and you can also count on after the program is gone so that they are available as your experts, an expert network that you can tap into on a long-term basis. So this is just not a short-term program. We intend this to be a long-term opportunity for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully we've already convinced everybody to go ahead and sign up, because this is a good thing, and you have a wonderful team supporting you in this effort. Most importantly, you're going to have your peers with you every step of the way in this process to offer very important support and expertise, and the sky is the limit for us as it relates to this effort. And so as we think about what is maybe related to signing up or getting registered to participate in the Learning Community Group, it might be helpful to understand what the commitment actually entails. And what we can tell you is that we will offer pre-scheduled meetings. The majority of those meetings will occur virtually. However, there will be some meetings that will convene in person between January 2016 and August 2017. In general, our meetings will be bi-monthly meetings. However, as we are getting started at the very beginning, and then there are some points in the middle, we may meet more frequently. However, before each one of the groups gets started with their program, you will have a full schedule for the entire project in advance so that your agency can plan ahead. And there are some awesome benefits to participating. So you, as members of the learning community, will have dedicated space to learn from your peers and to share best practices. Additionally, as we've already mentioned, you're going to have an opportunity to receive customized technical assistance. You will have an opportunity to build your network as an agency. And one of the things that we are very excited to offer to participants this time around is that exposure. We are looking to build access to a larger network of funders to resource our anti-poverty efforts, and you'll be on the front lines of that information, and you'll have an opportunity to access a wealth of resources, tons of information to support and enhance your efforts to improve your outcomes. And a wonderful, great thing is that your participation in the learning community will not just be about your agency. It is also about the well-being of the entire Community Action Network itself. And so as we discover new things or engage in new practices or approaches, there's an opportunity to capture that and to share that more broadly for the benefit of the network in the network's anti-poverty efforts. And so as a result of that, we need maximum feasible participation. And for us, that means our local agencies. We invite members or representatives from our state associations, as well as our state CSBG lead offices. We all have to be engaged in these conversations together and working related to these focus areas from our different perspectives to truly strengthen our efforts to increase impact. And so we are inviting agencies to apply as agency units, and so we're not looking for individuals to apply, but we're looking for agency teams to apply, which will include at least one agency decision maker, a program staff person, and someone who is keen on the data analysis staff. So let's talk a little bit more about just the overall learning community group process. We will journey through 4 phases. It will start with our formation phase, then we will progress to knowledge building, piloting, and then practice transformation. And just very quickly, just to summarize that for you, during the period of January through March of 2016, the formation phase will primarily focus on understanding the learning community model and just laying the groundwork for the focus area that you'll be committed to over the course of the project. This will also be an important time to get to know your peers and get to know about their agencies and assess where everybody is as we seek to clarify goals and begin working on the first draft of work plans. Between April 2016 and August 2016, we will transition through our knowledge building phase, in which we will engage in a deep dive related to the poverty-focused topic, share information and key knowledge related to research as well as practice. This will all be peer-to-peer oriented or peer-centered, and throughout that process there's an opportunity to receive technical assistance from peers as well as from subject matter experts in an effort to produce that final draft of the work plan, which will be due during that phase. And once the work plan has been completed by each of the agencies, we will transition during the period of September 2016 through March 2017 into our piloting stage, and that's really that time in which we're able to test those strategies that go along with those goals that have been set as it relates to our programmatic enhancements. And so we will implement and we will evaluate our efforts all along the way, and throughout the process, participating agencies will have an opportunity to report to peers and to subject matter experts to receive technical assistance, and we will track the outcomes. And as we listen to the stories of progress towards these goals, we will all be listening intently for training and technical assistance approaches and resources to support the larger CSBG network. And then finally, between the period of April and August of 2017, we will engage in practice transformation. So I love that notion of practice transformation. It's about change. And so, you know, what has changed as it relates to your agency's efforts. You will have an opportunity to share those results related to your projects, and also have an opportunity to promote promising practices to the larger network. So those things that we learned that we know are working, we want to highlight those for everyone to learn more about and offer resources and products to strengthen our capacity collectively. And yeah, that pretty much sums that up. Another important part of what we will do really relates to the dissemination of information, which I kind of touched on with that whole practice transformation phase, but really we will engage in dissemination throughout the whole project as it relates to resources that we become aware of that would be valuable to participants in the learning community group, as well as members of the Community Action Network. A part of that will be our national webinar series, which we're excited about. We're very excited about it. And so as you look at the different focus areas that we have, we will identify key topics that we will have presentations on that will be open to the entire network to participate in, so you don't have to apply to be able to access that knowledge or that information. And Elena Cohen has already announced for us that on December 2nd, she will be facilitating our first national webinar presentation entitled Understanding Trauma and Its Impact on Families in Poverty. And so you should have received an announcement about this webinar already, but if you haven't received it, another one will be going out very soon, and we welcome you to register for this very important presentation. So let's talk a little bit about how to join a learning community group. In general, 10 to 15 agencies will be selected to participate in each of our LCGs. Like I mentioned before, agency commitment is required. The executive director will need to sign the commitment form on behalf of the agency, because much of what we're talking about in the learning community, it has to do with the whole organization. So it's not enough for one individual or one program to say, well, we would like to make an enhancement, and the rest of the agency is not sort of coming along with them in that process. And that is why we make that request. The other important request is that there's that core team that helps in the process of ensuring that there is agency participation at each of the LCG meetings, and helps with coordinating the agency's assignments and the reporting of the outcomes, and ultimately disseminating information within the agency as well to maximize the impact of the resources and information that will be shared in the learning community group. The thing that we would also like to emphasize is that to be considered as members of the learning community group itself, agencies must be able to demonstrate experience related to that focus area. And so we are really looking for agencies who have maybe already implemented the program or have some experience related to a particular approach, which we hope will enhance the learning process for participants in the learning community group, but will also enhance our ability to speak authoritatively and as experts related to that specific focus area to our larger CSBG network. And so individuals can apply online. So this is an online application process. You can see the link there. I'm not going to, well, it's www.surveymonkey.com/r/LCRC2016. This information will be available, if it's not already available, on our website. And the important thing that we will emphasize is that the applications are due on December 11th, 2015. And below is just a summary of all of the elements of the application. What I can point out to everyone is that we have a full application information package that is also available on our website. And before you go into the SurveyMonkey, if you want to download the application, it will actually provide you with each of the specific questions that your agency will need to answer as a part of your application. And so maybe you're thinking right now, well, I want to get in on the action, but for whatever reason, my agency is not able to actually apply to be a core member of the learning community or a learning community group, but we, like I said before, want to be a part of the action, and we're excited to announce and offer you the opportunity to become a follower. And what a follower means is that as each of the groups are accessing various bits of information or resources or key aspects of discussion, that you as a follower would have an opportunity to be invited to participate with the groups in that. And there are instructions that you see there on how to become a follower, and you can first access that through the application itself. You'll be asked the question if you would like to be a follower, and you just follow the instructions accordingly. Also, there are opportunities through the Community Action Partnership's social media efforts that you see there related to Twitter, as well as our TTA newsletter that will also give you an opportunity to follow the efforts of the learning community, and certainly you are invited to engage any of those resources that we make available as much as possible, and we will be quite intentional about promoting those opportunities to the network. So very quickly, key dates. So I've already mentioned that the learning community applications are due on the 11th of December. Our goal is to notify all applicants no later than December the 18th. We are strongly encouraging participants in the learning community to plan to attend the Partnerships Management and Leadership Training Conference that will be held in New Orleans, Louisiana, January 5th through 8th, if you are able to participate. And additionally, the important thing to note is that the learning community kickoff meetings, the individual learning community group meetings, will convene the week of January 25th through the 28th. I've already, or maybe I didn't mention specifically, but the first draft of the work plans will be due on February the 28th of 2016, and then your final draft work plans are due May 24th of 2016. And for those of you who have to budget ahead of time and plan ahead of time, definitely want you to put the Partnership Annual Convention on your calendars, as we will have in-person convening for the learning community there as well, August 30th through September 1st, 2016. And then March 31st of 2017, our final outcome report from our project will be due. And then in 2017, in August, the end of August, we will have the big learning community celebration and graduation to just celebrate all of the accomplishments of participants in the learning community. So at this time, I would like to call on another voice. That person is Michelle Fields, and Michelle works for the Tennessee government. She works for one of our state lead CSBG offices, and just want to give Michelle an opportunity to offer a peer perspective as we close today.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yes, I'm with the Tennessee Department of Human Services, and as far as my experience, I have to say it was invaluable. I was new to the Community Action Network, and being so, it was very important for me to be participating in each of the cluster groups. My director, my co-worker also participated in some of the different groups, so together, with that knowledge, we were able to work together, keep apprised of what was happening, where we were headed, and some of those best practices. But in particular, I worked on the Bundled Services Cluster Group, which was extremely rewarding. We learned from others from around the nation, their projects, what was working, the honesty of what was getting in the way, how they may have overcome that. We worked with Mary Virtue, who helped to facilitate that, bring in some other ideas from outside of the Community Action Network, and worked with Barbara Mooney, the subject matter expert on bundled services. And then here in September, we were able to participate in the Emerging Practices Summit and bringing together ideas about bundled services and the homelessness project, and thinking about what is really working, what works well, what doesn't work well. But my main 2 cents worth is you definitely get out of it what you put into it. That's all.
Thank you very much. So Michelle said it's a positive experience to get out of it what you put into it, and our work, as I said at the very beginning, is very important work. Our families and our communities are depending upon us as we aim to help them and change their lives, so to speak. And so to whom much is given, much is required. And we hope that this framework will provide what is needed to strengthen us so that we can bring our best selves to those individuals, children, and families who are fighting against poverty on a daily basis. And so I think that concludes the formal remarks. We really want you to join us, see all of your colleagues, happy faces, come join us within the learning community. This is a good thing. This will be good, important work for your agencies. And so in our final, I guess we have about 11 minutes. We're going to try to answer some questions, and I'm looking away from the camera at my colleagues because I am quite dependent upon them to help me in this process. Oh, this is an excellent, excellent question. I'm going to raise the question, and then Elena Cohen, I want to toss the ball to you because I know that you can answer this question because we just talked about this week. So I know you can handle it. It's a trauma-informed question. It is, would trauma-informed be, for example, someone who has been homeless in the past, who helps design programs to get homeless people off the streets, or a survivor of domestic violence who leads victim group therapy sessions? So really the question is that they want to learn a little bit more about maybe the scope of this trauma-informed approach concept. Elena, you want to take a stab at it?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can
Hello?
hear you. Hello,
yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, that's a very, very good question. Trauma-informed practice involves a series of principles which are very general to all the serving agencies, and then very specific kinds of services and strategies for people that are working in different kinds of, have different kinds of populations. So definitely for the person who asked about homeless families, you know that homeless families are some of the families that have more exposure not only to the burdens of being homeless, but also to violence, to substance use, to mental illness, and to other problems. we are hoping that depending on what the group is that's applying for the learning communities, that we can form a sort of a big trauma-informed practices group that involves all of the community agencies that want to do this, but also we can separate in groups of folks that can do that want to do specific work. I have worked a lot, for example, with early care and education, Head Start, home visiting programs on making their services more trauma-informed. Then there are other kinds of strategies for groups that are working with domestic violence, both in terms of supporting the children who are exposed to intimate partner violence with the effects that that can have on their development, but also with the women and the men and the teens in dating kinds of relationships that involve violence that can serve that. It also with runaway and homeless youth, if you're working with them, there are specific strategies for them. So I guess what I'm saying is there are some principles that we will look at that all organizations, that all of agencies can put in place as they go through their own self-assessment, and they're very specific strategies about serving the target population. The last thing that I want to say about that, because somebody mentioned the word therapy, is that sometimes trauma-informed practices or services and trauma-specific interventions, which are mostly performed by psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers, are confused. And so what we want is to really make every person working with any client population more trauma-informed. And we will give you resources so that you can refer people that would need much more intense support to evidence-based practices that have been proven effective with specific kinds of groups. But we're not making everybody a therapist. That is not the goal. In order for us to serve these families, we need to know when it's the time to send to a professional, but we all can use some work on the organization and the staff that serves our programs.
Thank you very much, Elena.
That responds to your question.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And, of course, you can learn even more on December 2nd during Elena's wonderful webinar where she will lay all of that wonderful foundation for our network. I want to stress that any of the learning community groups that we have can be followed. That includes our Rural Impact or our Rural Child Poverty Learning Community Group, even though the enrollment for that has already closed and that group is well off the ground in terms of their efforts. For those open learning community groups, homelessness and poverty trends, national poverty trends, you will have an opportunity through the application just to say you want to sign up for it, but also as the webinars kick off or the efforts related to those open groups kick off, we will send out announcements to the network so that you can sign up to participate with those on demand. So just to let you know that. There was a question also about the time commitment required to participate in the learning community group, and really your colleague Michelle Fields said it in a nutshell. You're going to get out of it what you put into it, and so in essence it's going to be up to each individual agency to kind of determine how much ultimate time gets put into it. But from our point of view, we will primarily expect you to attend the pre-scheduled learning community group meetings. They will mostly be every quarter, but occasionally they will happen on consecutive months. Additionally, our expectation would be that you complete your work plans and actively engage in discussions related to your work plans and other information shared in your learning community groups. And so Yeah, it's hard to kind of put an amount of time around that. Maybe that's something that we can think about as a team and sort of provide you just with a general time framework. But each agency is going to have specific or unique goals that will basically motivate a different amount of time involvement. There was a question raised about the place-based strategies group, a desire to learn a little bit more about that, and so I'm going to cue Dana Jackson to maybe share a little bit more about that. One of the things that we are looking to explore and also talk about, though, is the whole notion of collective impact. There was a question raised by someone else related to place-based strategies about, as it relates to the community revitalization efforts, would it be possible to involve community partners with the agency in its learning community group work? And we say absolutely, absolutely yes. So while your agency might identify like 3 people who would be a part of the group to kind of coordinate things, you can totally pull your partners in to participate in the conversations, the presentations, just to access the resources with you as you sort of think through how to strengthen your community partnerships and collaborations for that larger collective impact effort. And Dana, I'm not sure if there's anything else that you would like to add from the place-based strategies point of view.
Thanks, Tiffany. I think that was a very comprehensive answer, and honestly, I would be completely delighted as well to have other partners join. I think that that's the thing that makes a place-based strategy so powerful. It really is about like-minded groups and individuals pushing against the same results. So in terms of place-based, we'll really explore what that means, the definition of place-based. It's a little bit all over the map, no pun intended, but it really is any place that you can put your finger on a map, right? So it could be a neighborhood, it could be a city, it could really be a block or a street, right? So it's really about the scale of the change that you want to make. When I think about the work that's been going on inside of you all's organization, it really will take more of a place-based collective impact type of model. So I'm excited to explore what that looks like together.
Thank you very much, Dana. Thank you. So we see that there are, let's see, yes, and so there's a question about whether or not slides will be available. What we have shared here today, absolutely. We will make sure to send out the slides along with the application information package so that persons can read more details who need more details. And certainly if you have questions about how to participate or specific needs, feel free to send me an email. It's there on our screen, tmarley@communityactionpartnership.com. We are very, 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 very excited about the learning community and more so excited about your participation and the wonderful transformation that will happen for your agencies and ultimately for your communities as a result of your participation. So please join us, and this concludes today's webinar. You will definitely hear from us, though. Have a great day, and thank you again.